I'm Bambi Francisco, and I'm here at the 2009 Semantic Technology Conference, and I'm speaking with Greg Stewart. He is an angel investor. He's actively looking for an operating role. He's also a former president of the Interactive Advertising Bureau. Greg, thanks for joining me.
You bet, Bambi. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Well, you're very popular. You've been on 2 panels, the advertising panel as well as the publishing panel, so you must know a lot about semantic technology.
Or they couldn't have gotten anybody else to come out to hear.
No,
I
think
don't know.
How does semantic technology, how is it improving advertising, or in your words, what is the marginal improvement that semantic technology provides over keywords?
Yeah. So I'll tell you, I'm very interested in semantic. I've spent a lot of time and looked at a number of businesses in the last, probably 6 to 9 months around it, because, you know what, the promise of semantics is to bring a level of intelligence to both a web experience and also then to advertising, is kind of the adjunct to that. You know, I would say, though, to your question about where is advertising stand right now, I'd say, you know, it feels like it's kind of it's not quite there. At least in the businesses that are being developed. I see some interesting early stage, but it doesn't feel, you know, I'm not ready to make I don't see a billion-dollar player yet in semantics as a result of that. And I think you're right for a couple of reasons. One is this issue about, you know, what's the marginal gain over keywords? So that's a big issue. This issue about whether or not there's enough advertisers to support these new targeted opportunities. I think that's a challenge in this sort of ecosystem of advertising. And, you know, I hear too much of this, you know, oh, well, let's just make sure that we don't run your, you know, if we run an airline ad, we don't run it next to the, you know, the airplane crashed. So, and that's, I understand that that's important, but that feels like it's like the negative rather than the positive benefit. And so I just don't see enough yet.
What's it going to take to get it one step further or to accelerate it? What do we need to see happen?
You know, I don't know. We probably need a smart entrepreneur or a couple of them
create
somewhere to sort of figure, to find something new. You know, I do think there are.
I don't think then I should ask you. I mean, you've been following advertising, being the president and former president of the IAB. That behavioral targeting, I heard tons about behavioral targeting and how that was going to help improve CPMs. And it doesn't sound like semantic technology, advertising based on semantic technology, is even close to improving.
Yeah,
CPMs.
I don't know that it's there to improve CPMs yet. I would agree. It just feels too far. And I think that, you know, you have them. I think where the challenge lies. Here's where I think a challenge and thus opportunity is that semantics being applied, as you sort of suggested, around behavioral targeting, better targeting. And God knows the world needs better targeted ads. But I think also, too, that we're still operating with sort of, we're taking a bad ad and targeting it better. That misses the point. We need to take a good ad. We need to make ads become more dynamic. They need to be more relevant to the content. They need to be more relevant to the consumer in some way. So that could be using data about the user. That could be using semantic intelligence gathered about the content. All those factors come together. But ads, I think at their basis, we need to let go of them being static. That is, to me, where the big opportunity lies. And then we move to better targeting, as I think you suggested.
Let's switch gears and talk a little bit more about the publishing industry. Now, Thomson Reuters, with its Calais service, is definitely trying to embrace semantic technology, use it in some way. But how's the publishing industry using semantic technology?
Yeah, I think there's better opportunity there. You know, it's funny, I'm a huge fan of the New York Times. I read it on a regular basis. I'm at that age where the tactile feel of a newspaper is still good to me. In fact, I read the Wall Street Journal, although I love the online version of it just as much, but I still like that opportunity. And I think that, you know, but they're very limited by the form of that media. And so, in my understanding, and talking to the experts about semantic applied to publishing, is the ability to sort of, you know, to provide related content, to start to understand what else a consumer might be interested, to lead them through more opportunities around sort of a similar theme. And, you know, that could never happen in a newspaper. In the newspaper, I was, you know, it's what I tell my 4-year-old sometimes, right? You know, you get what you get, you don't get upset. You know, that's that's what you tell a 4-year-old all the time, right?
But they'll quickly find out that that's not really true.
Well, they quickly find out, well, I think that's it. But I think the newspapers, in some way, sort of built themselves in that business. You get what you get, and you don't get upset. They just shove content out to consumers, thinking that editors knew best. I think that notion is over. What I asked on my panel is, you know, what's the balance between the technologists and editorial? Has that changed in 20 years? By the way, nobody offered to answer that question in any real way.
Ask the Wall Street Journal. They reduced a lot of their editors, so. But I think it's also a matter of the semantic technology recreating and repackaging, right? Isn't that it?
Well, you know, I did ask the question of the panelists as to whether or not we actually, as somebody said to me, it says, we've gotten very good at humans talking to computers. We yet haven't had computers that talk to humans. It doesn't really exist. And you look at some of the work that CNET has done. CNET is actually creating some content, some product brief content, strictly by machine, not a human being touching it at all. That's very interesting. But as most of them pointed out, and it's hard to judge at this point, at least in my perspective, you know, can it ever replace a writer's or a reporter's or a journalist's sort of perspective, a viewpoint? Can machines go that far? Everybody in the panel suggested no. That might be right, but there's probably some bridging there that could happen, some help.
But that's where this is going, right? Semantic technology is about getting machines ultimately to really start thinking like humans, so maybe they can start writing.
And we could spend, you know, we could spend hours debating sort of what Web 3.0 is, but I think that the promise of Web 3.0, the foundation of that semantics in Web 3.0 is around intelligent web, right? And it's the same thing I'm suggesting for advertising. When do ads become intelligent? And they are pretty far from that now.
Probably a long way away.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg, thank you for joining me.
You bet, always happy.
I've been speaking with Greg Stewart. I'm Bambi Francisco.